Well, good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to all of our attendees tuning in from around the world. Today's broadcast of Invisible Women in Sport is a part of our WHY series. WHY stands for Women of Influence in Sport and Education. This broadcast is an Institute for Sport and Social Justice production, and I'm your producer, Garnett L. Overby III. All guests will be muted during this production, but I encourage you to use the chat feature to ask a question or leave a comment. We will reserve time at the end to answer your questions. So now, without further ado, I would like to welcome our host, Candace Martin.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to season 3, episode 17 of Invisible Women in Sport. And I'm your host, Candace Martin. Today, you all are looking in for a special treat. We are here with one of our very own, Amanda Ekabutr, the Institute for Sport and Social Justice, Assistant Director for Huddle Up. Amanda, thanks for joining us today.
Yes, thank you, Candace. And you said my last name correctly, so.
Absolutely, I was about to ask if I did. Absolutely. So we had a chat yesterday about how the show would kind of go. So we talked about 2 icebreakers. Did you do your homework?
Yes, I did.
I love it. All righty, so we're actually gonna do rapid fire. So okay. I am going to get my timer started.
Oh man.
Let's see. All right, you ready? Let's see how you perform under pressure.
Okay.
Ready? All right, go. Layup or jump shot?
Layup.
Favorite stroll song?
Ooh, Nuck If You Buck.
Favorite athlete?
Clarissa Shields.
Trip to the beach or to the mountains?
Beach.
Song on replay right now?
Ooh. This is not going well.
We can skip it. Jab or hook?
Jab.
Okay, manual or full set?
Manual.
All right, about 33 seconds, not too bad.
It was that one song. I was like, what is in my playlist right now? But it was an Afrobeat song. It would be an Afrobeat.
Oh, very nice. Okay. All right. So we're going to jump right into the conversation. So for our listeners today, we talked about in the pre-screening how you kind of got their start within JUCO athletics. So I want you to share with our guests, what your start within the sport industry looked like.
Yeah, for sure. So as a Thai Asian American woman, a proud one at that, sports wasn't as prevalent in my life. Having a mother who immigrated from Thailand and was just very much all about hard work, didn't really have much access and opportunities to be exposed to travel ball or intramurals at a young age. So it didn't happen until I got into junior high, played basketball, track, volleyball, everything that I could just get myself involved in. And the thought of playing sports at the collegiate level was something that never came to mind until I had a cousin that said, you ever thought about playing like at a junior college? I'm like, what's that? Like, I don't even know what that is. And they held tryouts and I found a JUCO that worked best for me. And luckily I was able to be a walk-on, but then ended up getting a scholarship to be able to play at the collegiate level. So that was a great experience in itself. I didn't continue on playing at the Division I level, but I can for sure say that that's been such an impactful experience for me as how I operated in college athletics and just pouring into student athletes and just being a representation for folks who don't look like me that are in the space of college athletics.
Absolutely. So you talked about finding a JUCO that was a right fit for you. So for up and coming athletes who may be considering the JUCO route, starting out within JUCO athletics, what does that mean when you say finding out the right JUCO for you?
Yeah, so typically you'll find a JUCO that's in your area and you just kind of go to their website, see if there's any open gyms or if you can get in contact with a coach. And I went to an open gym, specifically one of them that was close nearby, and it seemed like they had all the returners coming back. They had their whole team set and everything. So I was a little bit overwhelmed and intimidated. So I was like, okay, let me try a different open gym. And the other open gym, I can also say, was more diverse in the players that were there, and coming from Mesa, Arizona, being born and raised, a majority Hispanic community, I have always been, I say, the minority amongst other minorities. So just kind of naturally gravitating to a more diverse group and feeling like at the open gym, it was more one-on-one too, and having that one-on-one attention, especially for someone who didn't think that they could make it to the collegiate level, was something that I needed. So it's really just feeling what that sense of belonging feels like for you, and that family-oriented space. That was how I helped choose my JUCO.
Absolutely. I think that's very important. Anytime whether you're looking for a job, whether you're looking for an institution, a program, you want to make sure it's a good fit for you, and that, like I said, it's family oriented, that you feel like you have people you're surrounded with that you can build with, can rely on. So I think that's very important. It was a great gem for you to share. That's transferable in different situations. So thanks for that. Yeah. All right. And so you spent your time as a JUCO student athlete. So how did your time as a JUCO student athlete impact your ability to serve all the different athletes that you have touched so far within your career?
Yeah, so as a personal experience, just kind of seeing the ins and outs of the JUCO experience, knowing that we didn't maybe have as many opportunities in terms of academic support or counseling or life skills, things that you would normally see at the Division I level. So seeing that lack in that area was something that I knew was something that I needed when I was younger. So just carrying that mindset on for other college student athletes that I come across, and making sure that they think about, instead of assuming that because the service is there, that they're going to utilize it, more so planting a seed for them to start thinking about those things and putting it in a way that you meet them where they're at, instead of forcing like, hey, you need to go to this program because yes, exactly. So meeting them where they're at, but it really was just seeing the areas that I wish I had more guidance and mentorship in, and hopefully just providing that mentorship to those who I feel like would need it as well.
Absolutely. So I know we're going to get into the thick of it a little bit more later. You talked about mentorship. So on Invisible Women, we love to talk about mentorship and networking and relationship building. So I want you to kind of shed some light on how you approach establishing and maintaining relationships, as well as mentorships also.
Yeah, so with relationships and connections, that's one of my biggest values. And I am very big on genuine connections. I know that people think that when they have to network with everybody in the room, but network with the right people, but also be your most authentic self, which again is another value of mine. But some of us might know the saying, it's not who you know, it's about who knows you. But I also take it a step further. It's who knows you, but also still do the work. Right. Because someone can know you, bring you in, and at the end of the day, you need to perform and be able to sustain and show the actions that you know how to do the job that people are believing you to do. So in addition to that, mentorship has been so huge for me, and I try to make it an intentional point to just check in with people, because, you have to ask yourself, are you connecting with this person because of their title or who they are as a person? Because once that title leaves, or if there's a title change, does that change the relationship that you have with that person? So really making those, conscious questions and answering to yourself, what is the end goal for you? And if you have an agenda for a specific person that you're connecting with, is it really genuine too? Because it should just be hopefully a natural connection, which sometimes is easier than others, depending on the environment you're in, especially for those who might be introverted. Myself, I'm extroverted. I like to say I'm a calm down extrovert, but yeah, so that's how I would say I maintain those relationships and just check in with those who have poured into me, because I would not be where I'm at without the people that did pour into me.
Absolutely. And I do appreciate you saying about genuine connections. Just, it's something to think about when you think about, like, if their title changes, does that change how you perceive that person or how you value or perceive the relationship? So that's very important. And I also want you to shed some light on the mentor that you spoke about yesterday in the pre-screen, that played a vital role in you landing your first full-time or your first job coming out of school.
Yeah, my first graduate assistantship. So I always love talking about this story because I love to give flowers to folks while, they're still here. Yeah. When I got done playing JUCO basketball, went on to Arizona State, didn't have any athletics. So I'm like, all right, let me major in exercise and wellness, because I've been working out and, maybe I could, make a jump shot real quick or anything. But I then soon found out that I just had the major itself because of my interest, but not necessarily that was a career path that I wanted to pursue.
Mm.
So I also felt a sense of athletic identity. I felt I didn't have my sport anymore. So what is it that I'm going to have that's going to continue pushing me, that aligns with who I am as a person? And luckily, I have a best friend who is a part of a sorority in the National Panhellenic Council, and I would observe it and just see how many connections she would make and just how much it poured into her professionally and personally. So when I came to the yard at Arizona State University, I fell in love with my amazing sorority, Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated, the best out there, in my opinion, a little biased, but
we have a few people that's on right now that are right there with you, Renee and Maya.
Yes, so proud. And again, as someone who identifies as a proud Thai Asian American woman, again, that's a little bit unheard of, like, who is this girl coming here? I had some sisters that didn't like me because of the fact of how I looked, but I knew that the mission and the values of a Delta woman is who I am. And
absolutely,
I'm gonna show you that that's who I am. And hopefully you accept me later on. If you don't accept me, at least hopefully you respect me.
right.
So got to the point where Delta really helped be that sense of fulfillment for me that I didn't have because I didn't have basketball anymore. I saw Delta as a lifetime tryout for me, at least when I was pursuing it. So that kind of shows the athletic mindset that I had with the organization itself. But all that to say, graduated, worked for about 3 years, didn't know what I was wanting to do with my life, still was in limbo, not sure what that was. Maybe it was athletics. I did like marketing, I did athletic training. None of them are for me, but I knew that athletics was something I wanted to be in.
Yeah.
And I reached out to my mentor, Alonzo Jones, a member of Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, and had him look over my resume. Just wanted him to look over my resume. Went over to go visit with him. We sat down, and it just so happened he got a call from Jason Thomas, who at the time worked at Oregon State for the football team. Just wanted to check in with AJ, Alonzo Jones, known as AJ. Just checking in with AJ. Luckily, AJ answered the phone. And because of the relationship and the respect that Jason had for AJ, AJ was like, I'm meeting with Amanda just about her resume. She's a hardworking woman hoping to get into college athletics or just athletics in general. Do you have an opportunity available by any chance? JT says, yeah. How does she feel about moving to Oregon in a month? I'm sitting at the table like, what is going on here? Like, what? I'm just trying to get my resume looked at. And I end up talking to JT on the phone. He tells me about the opportunity. It's a graduate assistantship working in football specifically to help Beyond Football, which was a student athlete development program for football student athletes specifically. And I was so excited about the idea and something new. Having an Arizona girl and moving her out of it was something that I never envisioned for myself. And I actually thought that Oregon State was the Ducks at first. And I was like, wait, there's the Beavers? Like, what is it? So it was a discovery journey itself. And also my exposure to college athletics was still very, very slim. So just taking everything in, and it just so happened that, throughout that journey and that process, I gave my resume and I moved to Oregon in a month. And that's where I started my journey of just discovering my passion of pouring into younger people, people who I know that need the support, that sometimes get overlooked, but being able to just provide that support for student athletes was something that expanded my passion throughout my college athletics career path and journey. So shout out to the connections and the network, because again, if I wasn't in those spaces and places and making connections with those amazing folks, then I wouldn't be where I'm at now.
Absolutely. So you talked about your passion and pouring back into student athletes today, students and student athletes today. So now I want you to kind of explain Huddle Up and how its efforts impact those people that you serve, for people who are unaware of what Huddle Up actually is and what you all do as an organization.
Yeah, so Huddle Up specifically is it's the Institute for Sport and Social Justice, and then it's Huddle Up, which is responsible for all the programming around diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, leadership development, and gender-based violence prevention. And at the Institute, we truly believe in the transcendent power of sport, and we really unleash that power by enhancing, educating, inspiring individuals, organizations to really live up to their values of social justice, equity, and inclusion. And through that, we do it through our programming. We do it for college athletic departments and professional teams, ranging from staff, coaches, student athletes, employees, professional players. So the impact is for sure a huge outreach across all different types of departments and organizations. So that is a little bit of an overview of kind of the work of Huddle Up and how that has transitioned to my impact of wanting to pour into other folks, but really keeping social justice and diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in the front line of folks' minds while they make decisions that'll impact their organization specifically.
Absolutely. So specifically for your role, how does your role fit into those efforts for people who may be potentially considering something similar, or maybe a role with the Institute or with the serving program Huddle Up? So, where does your role pretty much fit into the scheme of things?
Yeah, so as the assistant director of Huddle Up, it's kind of multifaceted in many different avenues on just how I kind of work and help support that mission. So for folks who work in student athlete development, or in the diversity, equity, inclusion space, or the Title IX coordinator, and just kind of thinking about how all those things work to kind of really put things into place, I would be a great contact to speak to, because we have sessions and programs that can help tailor the needs of the organization. And we have an amazing team of like 45 facilitators with an immense amount of expertise in different areas of gender-based violence or leadership development and diversity, equity, inclusion. So really being able to make sure that we have a successful training, making sure that the right people are in the room to facilitate that training, whether it's myself or somebody else, but really being able to, again, push out the mission of making sure social justice is something that we're constantly thinking about when we're making those decisions, and supporting student athletes, staff, and coaches, or their employees, depending on the organization.
Absolutely. So is there a current program or initiative that you have worked with that you are most proud of, that you would like to talk about with us?
So something that we have that's in the works is Huddle Up Connects. As I just mentioned, we have a team of 45 facilitators. They're not all in Orlando, Florida. We have people in Texas, Canada, name it. We have someone in that area that can help support. But thinking about our name, Huddle Up, we're really trying to focus on being able to build that community and huddle up our facilitators so that when they do facilitate these trainings, we have that connection and just that relationship so that those trainings can be successfully, executed. But it's a monthly huddle up meeting with our facilitators, but also not a time for us to just build connections and community, but to really stay, up to date with the curriculum around these different areas. As we know, unfortunately, there's a lot of things that happen in this world minute by minute that, we need to stay up to date on. So being able to have a connection point and really gain those different perspectives and talk about those different topics is so important, so that we not only help live out our mission with Huddle Up and the Institute, but more so pouring into our facilitators professionally and personally.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's very important, just making sure, checking in with everyone, one, like you said, like establishing those connections, but also make sure everyone's up to date and able to bounce ideas and perspectives. Perspectives are very important, receiving different perspectives from different individuals. So I think that's very important to broaden the scope of thinking for everyone that you all may serve and continue to serve. So as a minority Thai American woman working in a white male dominated industry, how has that impacted your passion behind your mission to continue to serve athletes all across the globe?
Yeah, I think it even drives the passion even more, because there's a lack of representation of people who look like me. And I know that there's other folks who can resonate with that, but if I'm able, because of being an Asian woman and the narrative and the stigma that Asians are number two to white people. I'm going to take advantage of that privilege. If that is something that someone's going to put me in a box in, I'm going to use that box and I'm going to open that box so other people can jump in with me at the table. But really just being able to understand where my positionality is in spaces that I occupy and what is it that I can do to help bring other voices or just share the voices that have been shared to me that would only support our organization or staff, student athletes, and coaches. So as an Asian woman, there's not a lot of us. I like to say that we're sprinkled here and there, but hopefully one day it could be raining and pouring of, Asian folks, and knowing that we have a place and a space to occupy. And, there's people who are passionate, and I know the feeling of being discriminated, excluded, and it's, one of the loneliest feelings. And I've always said that in these trainings, I'm not going to change the world in 90 minutes, but if I could touch one person to help someone else not feel those feelings or to help prevent someone from feeling those feelings, then I have done my job. I won't change the world in a day, but I'll change it bit by bit. So that's kind of my mindset. And again, just being representation, because I'm not the one that people would see as a quote unquote typical Asian woman. There's typically stereotypes of Asian women as being quiet. I could be quiet sometimes, but when there needs to be some words spoken, I will speak. Submissive, very good at math and science, which is, actually a good stereotype, unfortunately. But I mean, that's a little bit subjective that I say that, so I take that back. But just being able to let people know that you can't put limitations into always stay unapologetically yourself and authentic, which again, one of my values. So
right. I think it's very important that you mentioned opening up that box and allowing other people to jump into that box. Oftentimes as women, it's a stereotype among us that we like to claw and push each other out the way and things like, come on, girl, come on up here with me. Come on, get in the box. I'm trying to tell you, we're gonna get you one of these. I'm trying to tell you. And so I think it's very important because changing the narrative, especially among minority women, it's okay. You can eat and I can also eat too, so we can have a feast together. So I think it's very important that you actually mentioned that. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure.
So, and I wonder, what's your biggest lesson that you've learned while working in collegiate athletics? You've been on campus, you've worked in various roles, now you're with the Institute, what is your biggest lesson, something that you would potentially give a young professional that may be starting out that you would like to tell them, you might want to be aware of this real quick, or this is what my experience has been, so let me share this with you.
Yeah, for sure. It's really not losing yourself in your role. We preach so much to our student athletes about athletic identity foreclosure and just making sure that you know who you are outside of your sport. Well, who are you outside of your job? And sometimes college athletics has a way of conditioning us to think that work, grind, no 9 to 5, grind culture, all that, which, I'm all about the grind, but to a certain extent to where you don't question who you are as a person and really thinking about if you don't have your job or if you are replaced or if you get fired or let go, who are you at the core at the end of the day, and making sure that you have those other things that are filling your cup that still will be able to, speak to just who you are as a person. And I think that it's been interesting kind of, stepping away from college athletics, but still having my foot in the door a little bit, is that, my mission has still stayed the same, my why and my purpose. I know I've mentioned this in the pre-screening that I absolutely love and I preach all the time, as someone who, again, loves boxing. I feel like I say that all the time whenever I'm asked about sports or something. But Casti Amato, former trainer of Mike Tyson, what he said to Mike Tyson is absolutely my mission and my why. And now being with the Institute, it's still my mission and my why, but I've just added onto my mission and my why. But more so specifically, he says, I'm not a creator, I discover and I uncover. And even further than that, he says that, when I see a spark, I fan it. And then when it turns into a flame, I feed it until it turns into a roaring blaze. So anybody that I come across, I hope that I can pull out and discover and uncover a little flame in you so that I can bring it out so that you could be the roaring blaze that you've been from the beginning. It just took for someone to get some gasoline or some logs, or just feed it a little bit and just embrace who you are, your whole holistic self. So that's what I would say has kind of been something that I've discovered about myself, but something that I would share to other professionals too is, you know, think about who you are at the core in summarization. And then two, it's, you know, keep your why and your purpose the same no matter where you go.
I love that. I love the spark, feeling the spark, and then watching it turn into a roaring fire. So I think on that note, that's a jam. You know, I'm going to get to my last question right before we get to Q&A. So friends, please begin to put those questions in the chat for Gift to take Amanda through our Q&A. Sorry, Amanda, last question. I love to wrap up my show with this question here. So I would like to know, what would you tell your younger self? If you could sit on the bed beside little Amanda, you may be still trying to figure this thing out today. We've had some women say, I'm still trying to figure this out, but this is what I would, tell my younger self if I could today.
There's so many things.
Right. Right.
Man. It'd be like a few things. It would be buckle up, because it's going to be a ride. It's going to be a journey. It's going to be bumpy, because if we didn't have humps in our life, then we would have nothing to get over. So really thinking about how those humps are so important in our process, but also keep doing what you're doing. Because me keeping doing what I was doing got me to where I'm at now. So just being able to just work hard, be humble, and don't forget where you come from. That's actually under my bio and my Instagram, but
I saw it.
Something that
doing my research,
But something that I've always had in mind was, be humble, work hard, and never forget where you come from. Because when you're humble and you work hard, everything else will fall in line. But I would like to be on the side of being humble instead of getting humbled. So I prefer to go that route. But that's what I would tell little Amanda. And don't put limitations on yourself, and what you think is what's for you might not be for you, and it might even be way more than what you ever expected. Because again, I thought I would never leave Arizona. Like, that was probably one of the hardest things for me. And then I went from the heat to the rain in Oregon, and then the snow in Massachusetts. So I'm pretty well diverse in my climate customs, but I'm definitely built for the heat, to say that. But those are all few things that I would say to little Amanda.
Absolutely. So buckle up, no ceilings, and stay humble. Did I get them all?
And work hard.
Work hard, play hard. Absolutely. All right. So Amanda, it's been great having this chat with you today. I'm now going to throw it over to Gift for Q&A. I'll see you in a few.
Love it. Thank you, Candace.
Hi, Amanda.
Hi, Gift.
How are you?
Good, and you?
Good to see you. All right. Our first question comes from Garnett Overby, and he says, Our first question comes from Matt Edelson, and he says, what skills are important for someone who might want to be a Huddle Up facilitator?
Yeah, that is a great question, Matt. So I would say for someone who is interested in being a Huddle Up facilitator, I think your passion really has to be there in terms of, really standing up for social justice, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and really having, again, just that passion and the work for it, but also just being coachable. One thing that I've learned in this organization is that there's always rooms for improvement. So really brushing up on your facilitation skills, what you thought might have you landed the training, and there's always some type of feedback or something that you can always fix up on a little bit or get better at. So having a growth mindset for sure, and just being coachable and passionate about the work, I would say.
Awesome. Thank you. Our next question comes from Garnett Overby. What is one area where men can do a better job at supporting and advocating for women of color in sport?
That's a great question. I think, well, for me, I would say it's, yes, inviting women of color to the table, taking them to executive meetings, depending on the space or the position that they play, but really not only inviting, but including and accepting those thoughts and perspectives, because some of the things and the thoughts that we might have is not going to be status quo and is not going to be what everyone else is talking about at the table. So being prepared to support that thought or that perspective after, it has been expressed, if you do bring that woman of color, to the table or just to your meetings. But a simple one is just listening. I feel that, sometimes there's a conversation of like, oh yeah, let's, invite women of color, let's hear them at the table, but actually listen. I've noticed sometimes in meetings that, just having space for folks to just speak without over talking over them. There's been times where I've seen people who say like, oh yes, I always invite women of color to the table. And then the moment they start speaking, they just start jumping over. So just being mindful of that is what I would say. Garnett, thanks for the question.
Definitely. So I think what I hear you saying is like holding space and not necessarily like having an opinion, but allowing others to express how they're feeling in that time.
Yes, that's right.
All right. And our next question comes from Renee Edwards. In your workshops and trainings, what has been the secret to getting buy-in from the coaches?
Yes, Soror, hello. I know we haven't met, but I was just so excited. Yes, love the virtual background too. That's cute. So lovely coaches. Oh, it's always an interesting conversation with them, but I think it's speaking their language, really. Like we all should focus on winning, yes, but what is it that these trainings are only going to do to help translate those skills and all the things that they learn in the workshops to in the court, on the field, so that they can feel that sense of belonging? Because once you're able to create that sense of belonging, you're able to have student athletes who are going to work even harder for you, having that psychological safety. So really letting them know that this is going to translate to the wins, on their record that they would like, but also just have it be more of a welcoming environment that will make hopefully their job a little bit easier, is something that I would say. I think there's another question. Sorry, Gift, did you already read?
No, you're fine. There is a follow-up question, and that is, what is a good book you can recommend for someone that is trying to find better understanding in this area?
So yes, there's so many books. When you say area, what area specifically? Are we thinking like social justice, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, leadership development, gender-based violence prevention?
I believe she's referring to the buy-in from coaches and like but I guess they could be more specific as well.
Yeah, well, for buy-in and coaches, I don't either area. Thank you for that clarification. I would say for diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging, can we talk about race? That's a good one as well. Even about before going into those subjects of, talking about racism, intersectionality, and privilege, thinking about the community that you have set already with your staff and coaches. How well does everyone get along with each other? Do people know each other's last name? Do people know who they are as people? So something that we just recently kind of went over, and I know Garnett can speak to this too, is the Thin Book of Trust, and just really thinking about building that relationship first. It's by Charles Feltman, and it's a great resource, and it's not too long, but really just having your organization come together and kind of go through that first to see how the relationship is and to build upon that so that you can kind of get into those conversations. Because I think that sometimes we think we could just jump into some of those conversations, but starting with that first, especially with coaches and staff, is something that I would recommend as one book. And I know we can always connect afterwards and I can share some more resources that would be good.
Awesome. Next, we have a comment from Robert De Leon. He says, "Thank you. Personal stories are great to hear, and I wish you continued success. You are an inspiration to many, including myself."
Oh, thank you, Robert. One of our amazing Huddle Up facilitators. So he's awesome. He helps a lot with our MLB trainings, and he's taught me a lot about baseball that I'm still trying to remember everything that he taught me, but maybe this next spring training, I can kind of get it down packed a little bit more.
Of course, there's always time. All right. And then our second to last question comes from Elizabeth Hamlet. What has your experiences in facilitations with Huddle Up taught you?
Yes, great question, Liz. And then Gift, this is the Liz I was discussing about that's also at Illinois. But I would say for me, again, it's not limiting myself because I've been able to have experiences and facilitate in spaces that I didn't envision for myself, whether it's professional organizations or other college athletic teams in general. But I know that there's something always that can be worked on. There's always something that you can get better at. So when you feel that you have reached your peak, you might need to reflect a little bit more and think about, what else is it that you need to work on for yourself. So I'm always professionally applying anything that I can to improve myself as an overall professional. So continuing that is one thing that I would say that I have learned from my experiences and being able to facilitate for sure.
Awesome. And there's one final question. Are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. What are you looking forward to most for Thanksgiving?
What am I looking forward to most for Thanksgiving? Eat. I am so looking forward to, oh, you said eat what? Okay. So my sister-in-law, she's from North Carolina, and I don't know what this conversation is. It's like stuffing or dressing, and sometimes they get intertwined, but her dressing is amazing. Candace said choose wisely. Hopefully okay, we got stuffing. See, there we go. But her dressing is amazing. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. And just to sleep after I eat. But
yeah. I knew I liked you. You said dressing. That's all I need to know.
Is that right? Is it right? Or is it stuffing?
Right,
I don't know.
I think majority rules in the comments. So it's looking like dressing.
Okay. What did Candace say? Candace just said choose wisely. I'm not sure what hers was, but
I feel like the default answer she has to have is dressing.
I don't know. My sorors over there like, I don't know about that one. But either way, I'll eat it. There you go. See, dressing. So yeah, that's my answer.
Right, well, thank you so much. It's always a pleasure. And I will kick it back over to Candace to close us out.
Thank you, Gift.
Thanks, Gift. That was great. Yeah. I'm from the home of blues and barbecue, and we do it's dressing. It's dressing on them parts. But I'm looking forward to the pot of greens. I want the pot of greens that my mama done put up in the freezer. She done cooked it ahead. That's what I want.
Oh,
yes, ma'am.
let's see stuffy.
All righty, friends. Well, Amanda, it was a pleasure having you with us today. So thank you for making the time to hang out with us today. I'm going to close out our show.
Thank you so much, Candace.
Yeah. We'd like to thank all of you all for your constant support of Invisible Women in Sport. We're a nonprofit organization with other programs that impact various social justice issues, such as Huddle Up. Please use the QR code displayed on your screen to support us with a financial gift to continue to change the lives through the power of sport. Thank you. Special shout out to the Invisible Women in Sport team and also Amanda for joining us today. Special thanks to all of the organizations who have continued to support us throughout this year, and also Amanda again and the Invisible Women in Sport crew. Please follow us on all social media platforms to stay up to date and informed on future programs at Institute SSJ. If you ever miss an episode, we've got you covered. We keep all of our episodes uploaded and up to date on our YouTube channel. Also, friends, we get a lot of inquiries about internships. So please, if any of our supporters or members have internships available, please send your information to our producer, Garnett Overby at goverby@sportandsocialjustice.org, so we can continue to send that information out to individuals reaching out to us. Alrighty, friends, tune in December 1st for the last episode of season 3 with your host, Candace Martin. Tune in at 2 p.m. Once again, I'm your host, Candace Martin of Invisible Women in Sport. See us now. See everyone December 1st.